tuning in to the online broadcast network, AFTERBUZZ TV. Over 20 million weekly downloads in over 150 countries, and your number one source for after-show entertainment. AFTERBUZZ TV, the destination for TV superfans. Producing aftershows for over 300 of your favorite TV shows, interviewing celebrities and showrunners, and bringing you behind-the-scenes exclusives. All thanks to E! Entertainment's Maria Menounos, producer Kevin Undergaro, and internet leader Akamai. Now, let the buzz begin!
Welcome back, sleepyheads. It's time for the AFTERBUZZ TV Sleepy Hollow after show. Oh, this was a bit of a crazy episode. Plot lines moved forward, characters made some kissy, and some other stuff happens. I'm your host, Zach Wilson. You can tweet at me throughout the week, throughout the show, at that Zach Wilson, or using the hashtag ABTV Sleepy Hollow. And as you can see, if we go to the wide shot,
I'm all alone, all by myself.
I'm all by myself this week. There is no one here beside me. Unfortunately, Jackie Borowski is busy tonight, and Stephen Lemieux is a little under the weather. Send them both your love. They won't be back soon. Until then, I will carry on because the show must go on. And I am here to talk. We're here to talk about the Art of War. This was thank you to you guys in the chat roll. I'm going to be leaning on you for help tonight. I'm just going to dive right in. So the big monster of the week this week, I thought this was an okay episode. The Berserkers were a decent monster, not perfect, not bad either. I think their backstory was more interesting than they were actually on screen. They almost looked like they were given bird faces in a little weird of a way, where their faces came to this point. The weird thing was they were supposed to be the unstoppable monster, the one that we had no idea how to stop, but I never felt threatened by them. All of Pandora's monsters up to this point felt way more threatening, like they might do more damage than this one, which was supposed to be the hardest to stop. I was afraid for some of our characters with the fear monster and the monsters that fed the bee monster. The bee monster was way more threatening than the Berserkers. Even as unstoppable, so they picked up stuff and they were strong, but it never felt like our heroes weren't going to stop them, even when the mistletoe wouldn't work. I liked the mistletoe bit. That was cute. It was fun. The way that they solved... mistletoe apparently is a very valuable weapon, as we learned tonight, if you're fighting Berserkers. But I think that what was cool about this storyline, what I did enjoy, is the way that they had to solve the problem. When they're faced with something that's unstoppable, and they didn't just have a solution written down in a book. Of course, they found one, but this week's case, they managed to fix the problem with just ingenuity. It wasn't about, Ichabod saw this happen one time a few hundred years ago, and now it's relevant again. Ichabod and Abby and Jenny and Joe came up with a plan just using their own tactics, just like chess, just like the theme of chess that we got in this episode. They figured out how to do it. They poured a little bit of Jenny's blood on the back of him, and it solved the day. So that was cool. And moving past the monsters, the rest of this episode is where I think it really sang. Boo 69B is in the chat roll. I like the Teen Wolf Berserkers. They looked way... Yeah, other shows may have done Berserkers a little bit better. So let's... Jenny has been infected with the Shard of Anubis, and she's now, I guess, it's slowly taking her over. the big thing that I'm very interested to find out is what exactly the Shard of Anubis is. Where did it come from? What is it? Is it truly a piece of a god? By the end of this episode, we have Pandora and Mummy Guy emerging from the tree, from the evil tree, hashtag evil tree, and basically Jenny, under the spell of the shard, drawn to them as she kneels and takes his hand. Let's dissect. I want to dissect this a little bit. I think that this guy, maybe it's too obvious, but I feel like he is Anubis. In one way or another, he is a being of like the god of death. He oversees death. We already had the horseman of death, but I think that that's basically, this is the lord of the underworld, or maybe just another one, because we already had Moloch. Oh, Moloch is purgatory, so maybe this is the true underworld, and we may have called him Hades, we may have called him Anubis, we may have called him any number of things from any vast majority of different mythologies, but it would be cool to see the idea that, and this being, this guy that was seemingly wrapped in mummy cloth, is actually a mummified god put down there and running the afterlife, running the underworld. It could be a very interesting way to handle it, and it may answer who Pandora is. Is she actually Pandora? Is she Demeter or Persephone? Maybe she's just an amalgamation of all of these different things. It could be really cool. I want to see them use these mythologies a little more. So far, we've gotten some Egyptian, some Sumerian, some Greek, some Roman, all this stuff coming together. Tonight, we got Norse mythology. So they're really digging into all different worldly mythologies. We were into Chinese mythology in the season opener. And I think that that's building towards this god, this guy, this new big bad is going to be a creature who appears in all of the world's different mythologies, brought back into one being that we've just interpreted a million different ways. He's Satan. He's Hades. He's Moloch. Well, Moloch's dead. Unless this is Moloch. Twist! No, it's not. It's not Moloch. Don't bring Moloch back. No! Don't do it. Don't bring Moloch back. Yeah. No, that would be a silly twist. And I think this show is past. I think this episode is sort of proven to me. We're 7 episodes into the season, and so far there hasn't been a dud or a wasted episode so far. We've been given a bunch of different. We've been given a bunch of different plot lines, a bunch of different monsters, but it's never felt like a waste. Even as the monsters are one-off and we get them, we kill them, and we're done, and the episodes sort of stand alone, it has very much felt like, I want to say classic shows like Buffy is a great example of a show where monsters come and go, but the arc of the story of each season never feels like it goes away. And that's what Sleepy Hollow has done really well this season with Pandora, and now with the furthering of the Atticus Nevin storyline. It's never felt like we're dragging our feet. We are constantly driving the overall plot forward, and that is where Sleepy Hollow is really in strength this year. I would say even more than season 1, it has felt like we are always moving forward. And so it engages, it keeps me coming back every week, excited to know where we're going and what's going to happen. Because even though I didn't care for the Berserkers that much, they were interesting but not great, the episode as a whole was still strong and still a good episode of television that will get me back next week. Next week on Thursdays, but maybe Fridays, and we'll talk about that. Stick around for some news and gossip later in the episode. So that's basically what I think is going on with Jenny and the Shard and Anubis and Pandora. So let's dive into Jenny and Joe while we're talking about Jenny, because all the shippers can be happy. They finally kissed. Yep. We knew it was coming. This surprised no one. I think the chat was already talking about it. That everybody knew they were gonna get together. Samantha Voss said, "Freaking loved Jenny and baby Corbin." It was inevitable. I love the idea of these two people, these two characters. Just the idea that we got Joe Corbin back, little baby Corbin. he was an interesting character last year when he was the Wendigo. It was a bizarre twist that we took him away. Bring him back in when it turns out that August, and the reveal that August Corbin, back from the premiere in name at least, is having more of an effect on this world than we ever realized. So Joe having this big arc, this big story, and tying back into Jenny's life, everyone affected by August Corbin in their most intense ways, is great. I want to see more of it. I want Joe to stick around. He's become such a strong character. His plot lines have been good. The writing for him has been good, and Jenny and him just click. The chemistry is right. So of course they were going to hook up. Now, of course, but they cooked up just in time for her to get dragged away, which is, of course, how we need these storylines to go. This is how we need any sort of mystical, supernatural show. As Jenny said, she's been living in this supernatural world her whole life. So, of course, she's going to be affected by it. It's the only world she knows. So anything that happens to her is going to be driven by the supernatural world. Of course, she could never have known that she was going to fall into this trap of touching something she should never have touched. It's bad. Joke-ist Anubis twist, says Ren Einsburn. So I want to see more of them. I guess little Joe's going to be on the warpath now. After they have to go after. And now we have, I guess, probably a new addition to the Scooby team. But let's start at the beginning of this one, because back at the top of the episode, Reynolds comes in. And he passes off the phone, the phone of power that must go to Jenny Mills. A duty phone. I don't know how the FBI works. Probably a real thing. Who knows? If you're in the FBI, tell us. Somehow I doubt there is anyone in the FBI in our chat room right now. So he gives Abby his phone, leaving her in charge, which is a big deal, like for her to be put in charge of this branch of the FBI. And I think she takes it as such. It was very interesting after he's been chewing her out recently. He wasn't entirely... I don't know that he entirely trusted her. So when we get down to DC and he's meeting with this guy, I'm not sure what his name was, but if he even had a name, it's very interesting. There's something else going on here. There's far more to this story than we know, because Reynolds and him were talking as if there's a whole conspiracy around this. They have eyes on Mills. They have, but he says, I can't divert any more assets without attracting more attention. So this isn't just an FBI case. This is something else going on outside of just the FBI. I wonder, I'm trying to think, and I don't know if I can't give it to somebody else tonight to let me think of it, but I think that there could be a really cool plot. What if Reynolds is working for Pandora? Or what if the FBI, keep in mind, this is a show on Fox. What if the FBI has a special division devoted entirely to investigating the supernatural? Cue the crossover with the X-Files. It would be better than Bones. It wasn't a joke. It would just be better than Bones. Every crossover would be better than Bones. So yeah, I would love to see that turn into something. The idea that the FBI knows about this stuff and that Abby wouldn't have to keep it secret would be a great shift of direction for this show. Maybe there really is a branch of the government that deals with this kind of thing, and Abby has been on the outlier of it. Maybe they've seen these tablets. Maybe the government has seen these tablets and knows just as much about as Pandora, that sees the two interpretations. Are they witnesses or are they destroyers? And they've been holding back, letting them do their thing, waiting to see if they can be trusted. Now Reynolds is in there. He trusts Abby. He sees that she may be the best in the FBI and that he can bring her into this inner circle that apparently is very small, that has been keeping a mole inside Atticus Nevin's place with Sophie Foster. We talked about it last week. We knew that the actress that plays Sophie Foster has been brought on as a series regular for this season. That's huge. That means we're going to be seeing her for almost all, if not all, of the episodes left in this season. As for the reveal that she's an FBI agent, I was surprised. I personally, maybe you guys tell me in the chat roll if you saw that coming. Did you see Sophie Foster being an FBI agent? I had no idea. I thought she was just gonna turn out to she just worked for Nevins, and she was a cool character that might come slowly into the Scooby Gang to like throw a wrench in Joey and Jenny's plans because she got crushed. Pretty old little baby Corbin. But so yeah. Anyway, I think there's a lot there. That little, it was just a quick little scene, but it has such big implications for the universe of this show as a whole. The idea that these are higher up FBI agents who seem to be involved. Oh, great idea from A. Wilson in the chat roll. What if there are Hessians in the FBI? We haven't talked about the Hessians organization since season 1, but it was such a huge thing, as if it was this big, massive, centuries-old organization. I would love for them to bring that back, that the Hessians have been around. That is a brilliant idea. I would love to see that. Do it, Sleepy writers. I want to see that. I want to see the Hessians running the FBI from the back corners. Yeah, Darius in the chat roll says, no, I had no idea Sophie was FBI. Samantha Voss says, nope. Eric Olin says, nope, I didn't. And yeah, Cadet IPK, well, Hessians are everywhere. Felicia Moore didn't see it coming. Nobody saw it coming. But what was great about it is it felt right. It didn't feel cheap. Like a lot of twists that you don't see coming can feel really out of left field and feel fake and feel like a waste, like they tricked you into something. But it felt natural. This made sense. Even as surprising as it was, it made sense. So what else happened in this episode? You know what else happened since this episode? We got some reviews to shout out on iTunes. At least we got one new review, guys. If you haven't heard us give the little spiel before, if it's a big help if you guys can go onto iTunes, whether you're listening to us there, listening to us on SoundCloud, or watching us on YouTube. Jump on over to iTunes, hit us with a rating. I hope it's 5 stars. If it's not, let us know what we can do to make this show better for you. Maybe add some co-hosts on other weeks, but I'll work on that. They'll be back. But we want to know what you think. We want to know that you guys, and leaving those reviews helps us as a network. It helps us keep the show findable for new fans, and it helps keep the lights on here just by helping our shows become more popular. It's how we find sponsors for all of our shows. It's how we get guests. Last season when we had Lindy Green, when we had Jenny in studio, we only were able to do that because of the fantastic support from viewers like you. So go on to iTunes and you get a shout out on the show when you do it. JRenee424 says, one of my favorites, 5 stars. Look forward to this after show every week. Love the hosts, or host, depending on the week. That I added that last bit. Thank you, JRenee. Samantha Boston, getting back into the show, says the twist reminded her of the Henry reveal season 1. And that's true. The Henry reveal was also something I can't say that I saw coming. I wasn't on the after show at the time, so there's no way you can check. I didn't see it coming. Boo in the chat says, I was so shocked that she was FBI. Everyone was surprised, but it made sense, and that's what's important. Okay, so what else is going on in this episode? The rest of it basically was Ichabod is having some interesting sort of a depression with all of the battles that he's been up against. I think if we were in Ichabod's shoes, it would feel like we'd been struggling a little bit. Ichabod has has been having a rough go of it. Everything that he does, he comes up against a wall. Stopping Moloch, he has to fight through a headless horseman. He has to fight up against his wife, going evil on him. His son, everybody around him dying except for Abby and Jenny. He loses a lot of people, and now he's just trying to get citizenship in a country that he helped found. Ugh, I can, like it's rough. It's like getting kicked out of a club that you started, or you know who Ichabod could relate to right now. He should go see Steve Jobs. Steve Jobs knows it's like you found something, then they kick you out of it, and you have to try to worm your way back in. And that's what Ichabod's up against. And it's also, I mean, just getting citizenship is not an easy thing to do. So, and even while he's doing that, he's still just trying to figure out what to do with Pandora. They keep fighting these monsters off. They fight one off, they defeat it, they're like, yeah, we're the best. And then Pandora sends another one at them, and then they beat that one, and they beat the next one, and the next one, and the next one. And then Pandora disappears into the hashtag evil tree. I believe that's what she calls it. I'm not adding the hashtag. That is what Pandora refers to it as. It's the hashtag evil tree. So I like that we're getting into that we got this sweet moment between Abby and Ichabod at the end where they're coming together, and he's honest about his fear that she might get transferred out of state. He doesn't just rely on her for a place to live and for help with everything that he's been doing so far. She's his best friend. Like, I know that some people are still shipping them together, that it could be shippers, and I know Jackie, if she was here, would be yelling at me for not pushing it, but I love them as best friends. They are fantastic as just pure besties. I don't need a romantic relationship between them because they're the best of friends. They know what they are, and Ichabod is not afraid to tell her that. Even as Joe, he and Joe have the same conversation about needing to be honest with the other person. Joe's honesty is that he just wants to kiss her, which I gotta commend him on the what has got to be the weirdest line. Ichabod told me I should talk to you about what? This. I mean, yeah. I mean, whatever works for you, Joe. I mean, it got him in there, so kudos. But I liked Ichabod's little talk with Abby. Yeah, some people in the chat, Cadet JPK, Ichabod for life. A. Wilson says, but I do love them as friends and or more. Somebody thought that Crane was going to confess his love for Abby. No, he's just confessing his bestie status because they're besties for life. BFFs. Witness BFFs. All right. Well, that about does it for the episode recap. I think there's overall, like I said, I think this is a very solid episode. It drove the story forward. It's not the kind of episode you're going to want to go back to a whole bunch of times because the Berserkers were good, not great. It may not even be good, may even be pushing it a little bit, but it was fun to watch, and it drove the story forward. So I liked it for that, especially. I think in retrospect of what we were getting next week, it will be very interesting. Yeah. Oh yeah. In this case, boom. Kiss, not boom sex, as I usually like to say, but it was, I like that my own lines are being quoted back at me when I forget them. You guys are amazing. I love you guys. All right. So, there's a lot of stuff going on. As I said, there's boom making out in this episode. So, with that in mind, I think it's time that we move into Sleepington Abbey. This week on Sleepington Abbey, hosts have abandoned their posts, and making out is rampant as truths are confessed. Agents come out of the shadows, and all things are changing. I say, it appears that no other hosts have shown up this week, which is most scandalous. Most scandalous indeed, would echo the crowd. But I say I did I didn't see Mr. Corbin laying his lips upon Miss Mills while she was under a state which is quite delirious. Quite delirious indeed. It was most scandalous, for maybe he should have waited until she was right of mind. Oh my god. Alright. Let's leave Sleepington Abbey alone until we get some people to play off of. With that, let's move into some predictions.
And now, your AFTERBUZZ TV predictions.
All right. Okay. So next week looks like it's going to be a huge episode. Next week we've got a living God, as they say, which is also sort of colored my belief, although I was already thinking about it, that we are going to get Anubis. I think that it's this amalgamation of Anubis. That's my huge prediction. I already gave it away earlier in the episode, so I don't have a lot to go there. The scythe that they showed at the end has some very interesting implications. The scythe is a tool of gardening. It's for fielding. It's for field work. So I wonder if it's somehow about a harvest. What is a scythe implies harvest? Is he here to harvest souls? Is he here to harvest life? What is behind the scythe and Anubis? Which I'm going to call him until I have something better. Because why else would he be looking for the shard? Maybe it's like the devil in Tenacious D, The Pick of Destiny, where he needs to complete himself to be whole again to regain his power and walk once more upon the earth. That's the myth they're drawing from. The myth of Tenacious D. So yeah. So the other big thing that we got to talk about some news and gossip real quick.
AFTERBUZZ TV News.
Okay, for those of you who haven't heard and didn't figure out from my where I just basically laid it out earlier, this week it was revealed that starting February 5th of 2016, next year, that's going to be mid-season for Sleepy Hollow. Starting February 5th, Sleepy Hollow is moving from Thursday nights to Fridays at 8 p.m., 7 Central. That's not good news by any means. Traditionally, moving a show to Friday night is the kiss of death. Most shows that, especially on networks that air on Friday nights, it's a night where people go out. So it's not considered something that people are going to find by accident or that they're going to happen upon. In the age of DVR, it's not as big a deal because anyone can find it. There are certainly shows that do very, very well on Friday nights. I, for one, also am, of course, as fans of AfterBuzz may already be aware, I'm a huge fan of the show Grimm, which premiered as a Friday night show and found a fantastic audience and has been running for 5 seasons in that time slot. They even tried moving it off there when it was a success into Monday nights. It didn't do well there. They moved it back to Fridays. The ratings went back up. So there's 2 things here. Either Fox is just done with the show and it's on its way out, and this is the last season that we're going to get. They're just ready to finish it out, tell them finish season 3 and you're done. Or they're the only alternative, if they do have faith still in the show, is that they're trying to capture what NBC really hooked onto with this Thursday night or Friday night horror block, where they had Grimm, which has been anchored by Grimm. They had Hannibal, they had Dracula. They've had a few other shows that did well and were very well received. It airs right at 8 o'clock prior to when Grimm airs. So they weren't dumb enough to think they could compete with Grimm. But if you get there right before and you watch Sleepy Hollow and then turn the channel down and watch Grimm, that's the only thing I could think that's possibly a positive thing here. But overall, Friday night, I think it's a bad sign. I think this season, that says to me, this season is the last of Sleepy Hollow, unfortunately. But as much as they bounced back season 3, season 2 left them with a really low audience. It's tough to get people back after you have a bad season. So time will tell. We'll see what happens. Time will tell, and we'll get to see the rest of the season. It looks like at least we'll see the rest of the season. They're not just going to cancel it midstream. Some people are saying Friday is death. The death slot. Can we start a petition for Hulu to save it? I think this show may be too big of a budget for Hulu and Netflix to chase it. It doesn't have as big an audience. I'm afraid. We'll have to figure it out. We'll see. So that's gonna be it, guys. Thank you for joining me for this ride. I am going to go rest my voice for a little while. But thank you guys so much for joining me. I'm Zach Wilson. You can tweet at me at that Zach Wilson, THATZACHWILSON. Jackie Borowski 123 Jackie _B. Stephen Lemieux. I don't spell his name for him. You can look him up, find him. And you can find me here on a whole bunch of shows at AfterBuzz, including, as I said, Grimm, Doctor Who on Sundays is double up. We have some very exciting stuff coming up for Doctor Who's gonna be fun. For Grimm, trust me, you're gonna want. If you're a fan of Grimm, you're gonna want to keep watching this season. We have some exciting stuff on the table. Other shows, Leftovers, The Muppets. If you tune into Muppets, I think we may have gotten a big number of reviews. Enough this week that I'll be revealing the footage of me when I was on Sesame Street as a child. You heard that right. Tune into AfterBuzz TV's Muppets After Show for that exclusive. Guys, until next week, I'm Zach Wilson, and thanks for geeking out with us.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Good night, sleepyheads.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.